Hi there. Okay, so I wanted to do a video today about spirituality, about spiritual healing, and about spiritual readers and tarot readers and things like this, and mediums, angel card readers, anything like this. I might need to just narrow this down a little bit because I'm going to try and make it about a 10-15 minute video. So if any of that interests you, great, pull up a chair, grab a tea or a coffee, and see how this goes. So, if you are thinking of having a spiritual reading, I'll start with readings. We'll start with mediums and things like this. So firstly, there's a baffling array of readers out there. Some are better than others. And I think I just wanted to add a bit of a note of caution because there can be amazing information that comes through from the other side, from the spirit world. But also, sometimes it isn't always what you want to hear. Sometimes a reader can leave you wanting more. And it's really as well to just bear in mind, if you're seeking a reading of any kind, usually if you're seeking a mediumship reading, it's because you've lost a loved one. And so you're going to be feeling a good deal of vulnerability. You're going to be really vulnerable potentially. And I think the best readings out there are those that help empower you to live your life fully. And with the best will in the world, even a good reader sometimes might leave you feeling a bit vulnerable. Might not be the reader's fault. It might just be that you were seeking different information, maybe more information. So I think I'd just add a caveat or two here. Remember, if you're looking for information from spirit, that spirit sometimes does provide information. But sometimes it isn't always what we want to hear. Ultimately, you are the agent of your own life. And that might sound obvious. But often when we're seeking information from the other side, from the spirit world, etc., we're doing so because we feel a bit disempowered or we feel a bit vulnerable. So we're looking for help. We're looking for a bit of guidance, a bit of reassurance. Maybe if you've lost a loved one and you just want to know they're okay. So bear in mind, your loved ones, all the messages I've seen, they're always okay. They're on the other side. They're in a safe space now. They're in a safe space. We're all spiritual beings having a human experience. We're all very loved by spirit. Everyone is. So bear that in mind, and bear in mind as well, we're here to figure things out ourselves. If spirit handed you all the answers to your life that you were seeking, you'd live life on God mode. You know, you'd know everything, you'd know what you were doing at all times, you'd know where you were going, you'd just be able to ace everything because you were told all the answers beforehand. But a little bit like if you're sitting a test, you learn what you learn, but you're not given the answers. And I think life is similar. I think it's a bit like a test, being on this planet. Because it's in part a bit illusory. Everything that we see is solid, you know, is really, as Bill Hicks used to say, just light slowed, you know, to a slower vibration. It's a bit of illusion. We are spiritual beings. We're eternal spiritual beings. And maybe, you know, it might have seemed like a good idea some years ago to come to planet Earth and forget completely that we're spiritual beings. But I'm not sure if that was part of the deal. And I don't think it helps us anymore. Because the amount of people living their lives in a form of desperation because they feel alone and they don't know that they're spiritual beings. You know, and I think we need to know. I think it would help people a great deal. And it would help empower people as well. It would help empower people as well. So there's that. So if you're only getting a few answers from spirit and you're unsatisfied and you're unhappy and you want more, I would say just hold your fire. Don't necessarily go back, but sit with it a while. And I think as well, part of it is because if you're going through anything difficult, our first instincts are to try to soften that difficulty in some way. You reach for something to take the pain away. You reach for something to make it a bit better. So if you get an answer from Spirit, it isn't quite what you're looking for. It's very easy for people to go back again and again and again and again, seeking more answers, seeking more clarity. But that can create a dependency in some instances, which isn't very healthy. And I say this, I use angel cards myself an awful lot, and I find they're helpful. But I'll do maybe a reading once in the morning, once in the evening, and I just find that helps set me up. It helps me to think about what particular issues I might need to focus on, and it helps give me that guidance, and it helps me have that sense of comfort sometimes as well. So I tend to do that. Every now and again, I'll get a reading from someone, and I got a reading from a lovely lady actually at a psychic fair, probably about 6 months ago, and I'd had one a few months before. And in that first reading, it was so uplifting, it was wonderful. She was like, oh my God, you're on this particular path, it's great, you're going to step into this sort of leadership position, it's going to be amazing, oh my God, lovely, bye. And I asked her, I said, okay, but how? You know, because I quite like concrete information. And it was quite a vague, abstract reading, which I think was necessary. I think that's just how Spirit is sometimes, you know. Like I say, you're not going to get all the answers. The idea is that we figure it out ourselves. And basically I was sort of told, right, meditate, just meditate a lot and the answers will come sort of thing. Well, because I'm quite impatient, I probably haven't done enough meditation. And I went back to see the same reader a few months later, and she went, oh, you're not where you're supposed to be. And I imagine that's why. I imagine it's perhaps because I didn't meditate. But I found myself thinking, I was very crestfallen. I thought, oh, I've messed up. I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm not what I'm supposed to be doing. But then that's quite a disempowering thought, isn't it? To imagine, oh my God, I've messed up, da 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 da. You have to find a way to turn that into a positive. You have to think, okay, maybe I have, but I'm just going to carry on. And ultimately, the bottom line is you have to carry on doing what you feel in your heart. No one else can live your life for you. And with the best will in the world, psychic readers, tarot readers, all of them, even the very good ones, they give you some information. Some of it is true. Not all of it is often, is always true. Sometimes some of it will not be true. And sometimes some of it will just be a sliver of information, but there's more out there that you're just not getting from them. So bear that in mind as well. Sometimes it might be that Spirit guides them. No, you're not able to say this to this person. Sometimes it might be the information just doesn't come through. Sometimes it could be a misreading, or sometimes it could be that they're not getting the info. They're just not getting enough info. And so if you're a bit dependent upon going to see a psychic or anything like that, just bear in mind, the more you go and see another person to give you a reading, the more you're handing your agency away, the more you're handing your personal power away. Because all it takes is a bit of a negative reading or somebody to give you information that makes you feel, oh no, I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I'm going to beat myself up a bit, or I'm not, These are the times when you're going to feel like, oh, that isn't what I wanted to hear. And so you might find you go back a few months later to try and hear something you did want to hear, try and hear something more positive or uplifting. Again, you're handing your power to someone else. You've got to live your life as best as you see fit. You've got to stand in your own power. You've got to believe in yourself. We're going to face judgments all the time from other people, especially if you put yourself out there online. You're going to have people who think you're great, and you're going to have people who are just rude and mean and who find something to pick on. The other day I was mildly critical because there was a picture on X or a video of some young ladies tottering about in next to nothing, going out on a night out, you know. And I was mildly critical. I wasn't horribly judgmental or anything at all. I was just mildly critical, because obviously all the bits and bobs are popping out left, right and centre, you know. And so I was just like, is this really, you know, they want to be slightly covered up just a tiny bit more, you know. And for this I received some criticism, but bless their heart, the person who dished out the criticism, I think they must have been quite young themselves, and they said to me, "Your hair looks very dry." Well, it is. The ends of my hair are a bit dry, you know. But yeah, so people are going to criticise. And there's a lady I really like on X called June. I've forgotten her name now. It might be June Slater. She tells it like it is. She's a northern lady. She's fabulous. And she's smiling away in one of her profile pictures. And there's one bloke, also, well, I assume it's a bloke. It could be a woman, who just went, "Fix your teeth." Her teeth looked fine. They weren't Hollywood teeth, perhaps, of dazzling, ridiculous, you know, neon blue white, but they looked absolutely fine and normal to me, you know. So there we are. So some people will criticise, and some people criticise and quite mildly, like my dry hair, which, you know, look fine. And for some people, it can be an awful lot worse. It can be an awful lot worse, and you can really get criticised, you know, and some people really take a beating, as it were, on X and various other social media platforms as well. So you just have to be aware. Ultimately, you've got to like you. You have to be comfortable in your own skin. You have to be comfortable with your life path, and you have to check in with your intuition, check in with how you feel about it all. How does your heart feel about what you're doing? How does your intuition feel about what you're doing? As well as logically, rationally, all the rest of it. Use all of your senses to guide you as well. And it doesn't mean you're going to be impervious to criticism, and it doesn't mean you can't accept any criticism anymore. One of the things I read about from time to time is, if somebody's criticising you, work out what's real out of that criticism. You could reject it just because you don't like it, but that doesn't necessarily mean some of it isn't true. So if it's constructive criticism, I'm not talking about horrible personal attacks now, just reject them. You know, no one should be attacking you for how you look, etc. So just reject any ad hominem attacks. But if someone's giving you, you know, constructive criticism, you can have a little think about it and think, is that useful? Is it decent? Is it something you want to take on board? Someone might say something about your video style or something like that, for instance. Ultimately, you need to do things the way you want to do them, and you've got to be happy with that. So, readings can be very useful. They really can be. But I guess the takeaway from this is just use your common sense. If you're going to see a reader quite a lot, that's probably because you're very lost in your life or you're very unhappy. Because if we're really super happy, we don't tend to want guidance. And we all get points in our lives where we get really unhappy and really lost. Okay, you're not alone for a start. But just bear in mind that you're here to figure it out yourself. And while that can mean taking on board other people's advice, absolutely, and getting help, absolutely. Don't become too dependent upon another. And that could be a tarot reader, it could be your friend. The ideal is that you step back into your own power. You are in power to live your own life. You're empowered to live your own life. You are the agent of your own life. You know, so just bear that in mind as well. So you can step into who you are with confidence and be happy. Be happy to own your decisions, regardless of what other people think. They go, "Oh, you're not where you're supposed to be." Go, "Fine. Not where I'm supposed to be, but I'm happy in myself." And that's everything. Do you know what I mean? So I just put that in there as well. I do need to meditate more though. I really do. But anyway, So that's what I just say there about spiritual readings, which I hope has been useful to anybody out there considering a spiritual reading. So that's 14 minutes. That's taken me longer than I thought already. Okay, I think I'll split this video into 2 parts. I think that's the spiritual reading part. And I think I'll do a separate video. I'll do a separate video about spiritual healing, because I've had spiritual healings in the past that I found very, very useful. But I think that's going to take a video all in itself. So we'll do that. So I hope this video has been helpful or useful to anybody out there considering a spiritual reading. And they can be very good indeed, and very comforting and very useful. So don't necessarily write them off. But as I say, just try not to get dependent. Try to take your own agency into account. And if you're happy with the way you're living your life, ultimately it's up to you and your God, you know, and it isn't up to anybody else. So I will leave it there. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a good evening, and I'll just make another video now. All right then, take care. Bye.